Well, good morning, everybody. How you doing? It's a beautiful Thursday morning. I'm Jim Valeri, and I am your friendly neighborhood conflict resolver today. Because today we're going to talk about conflict resolution. If you like what I'm doing, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, notification, follow. Throw me a little love. Shoot a comment in the comment section. Go to dynamicmarriagesolutions.com. You can book a phone call with me. Won't bite, I promise. I'll probably help you out with a little problem that you may or may not have, or even a big problem that you may have. So, today I'm also changing out the microphone situation because I've realized that my audio is absolute garbage. I actually really think I need to get a Bob Barker microphone. I've always wanted one of those. I called them a lollipop microphone back when I was a kid. It's like, oh, he's like, how much am I bid? So I got to realize that my audio is trash, and I have to do something about it. So we're gonna do a little different today. I may hold this, I may throw it in my pocket. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Anyways, you're here to talk about conflict resolution, not here to listen about my quirky dissociative rants, are we? We're not going to do that today. We want to talk about conflict resolution. Now, if you recall, this week we've been talking about arguments. Now, arguments are a touchy subject. People have a hard time resolving arguments. They have a hard time actually having them and playing fair. Okay? So I hope I threw you some tips, some ideas, some suggestions on how to make that better. Sure. Let's go over it. Monday, we talked about making a list of all the things that you would argue about, you and your spouse would argue about. All right. We also talked about digging, going a little deeper, digging within yourself, trying to understand your motivations for arguing with your spouse. And then we got into empathy, trying to understand, trying to take some space when things got heated up, right? So if you haven't watched those videos, where you been? Go ahead and go through the feed, check them out. It's literally almost the only thing I post all day because I'm busy. I'm seeing like 8 to 10 clients a day. It's just the way it goes, all right? I'm a busy guy. This is like the only time this is the only time I can go and make videos. Like I've always wanted to do this just because I could sit there and rant. And if nobody watches the videos, that's fine. At least I had an opportunity to rant the heck on the internet and do that. So, so yeah, I'm only doing this in the morning. So the rest of the day I'm super busy. So go ahead and check those things out. It's the only thing in my feed. Have fun, take it easy, go check those things out. So on to conflict resolution. First thing you can do to resolve conflict is agreeing to disagree. Now people are like, well, this is kind of dumb, Jim. Like, you're going to agree to disagree. That's just so corny. Yeah, well, you know what? There are just some things you're not going to agree on. Okay? And what's the alternative? You're going to make them think the way you do? Is that how this is going to work? It's probably not going to happen that way. Okay? Odds are decent. We are probably going to be trying to get the other person to think the way we do. And it's not going to go anywhere. But what if it did? What if you decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to hang back and I'm going to agree to disagree on this. All right. Now, there are some issues you're just too far away from each other on, obviously. But we got to try and resolve that. Okay. You're not going to 100% agree on certain things. So just come to terms with that. Be okay with that idea. Be okay with that concept. Be okay with the notion that there's just some things you're not going to agree on. Can you do a 50% compromise, though? Think about that for a minute. Can you come to the middle 50%? All right? In a true compromise, there's no winner. Okay? You don't believe me? Talk to an attorney. They'll tell you. Not because you want to get divorced, but because, they'll tell you. They'll tell you stories. Or somebody who does arbitration. Same kind of thing. In a true compromise, nobody actually wins. All right? So, how can you agree to disagree? Well, what if you can agree on how to disagree? Crazy idea. I know. I'm going to break the internet with this one. But what if you could agree on how to disagree? Just some thoughts. And how do you do that? You sit down, you say, all right, we disagree on this topic. Let's not talk about the topic. Let's talk about how we're going to disagree about this topic. Let's talk about how we are going to deal with this thing that we can't come to a resolution on within it. Okay? So the issue itself, whatever it is, whether it's politics, how to spend money, how to raise kids a certain way, screen time for the children, religion, you name it. There's certain things that you're just not going to agree on. All right. But you have to find a way to agree to disagree. A quick story about this one for me. My wife and I were engaged, and there's a church I was going to, and I really wanted her to go to that church. I was like, hey, you know what? Can you just like come to my church? So she went to my church, and she's like, no. She just, I grew up like Pentecostal evangelical. She grew up Baptist. All right. So we're very far apart in what we believe to be, what church meant. And so we had a big argument. When I talk about those big, like middle of the night, knockdown, drag out arguments, I bought the t-shirt and I got a drawer full of them. Okay. Like seriously, this is the reason why we run into these problems. So how did we resolve it? Well, we fought a lot, got a lot out of our system, and she thought we were done. And once we were done, this was like 3 a.m. She was driving back home. She's like, I've got 3 hours to get some sleep, and I got to be back here the next morning at 6 a.m. So thanks a lot for nothing. And I was like, hey, she's like, what? I'm like, you know what? I don't care where we go to church as long as I'm there with you. She's like, if you just said that, like, I don't know, 3 hours ago, it would have, sort of helped things along a little bit. So ultimately what we did was we found a way to agree to disagree. We recognized that we wanted to go to church, but there were specific ones we didn't want to go to, and that's okay. And now that's kind of how we run the show. We're not hell-bent or stapled to a specific denomination. We pick a church based on what's good for our relationship and good for our family. So anyways, let's go on to number 2. I don't want to bore you to tears with my stories, but number 2, can you say yes, even if you don't necessarily want to? I have a sort of thing that I tell my clients: if it's not going to kill you, if it's not going to like put you in the poorhouse and break the bank, and it's not going to break your core values, why not say yes? Like it's not going to kill you. If your wife wants to spend $20 on, I don't know, something, whatever it is, is it going to kill you? Do you have to okay, money might be tight, but a little something. Now, obviously, if we're spending, however much per week, I had one client who was spending like $1,000 per week on stuff. That's need to have a conversation about that, okay? But if it's not going to break the bank, your core values, if it's not like, hey, we should have an open relationship. I mean, I'm a personal believer that open relationships are a bad idea. If that's your bag, God bless you, you figure it out. But if it's not going to kill you and you can say yes, why not say yes? Why not be like, hey, you know what? I think that sounds like a great idea. I will definitely do that. Or even if you're like, no, I don't necessarily agree, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to veto you on this. I'm going to be cool with it. Why? Because it's important to be able to not fight about little things. Okay? Very important to not fight about little things. Okay? So remember that. You can spare yourself some headache. You can spare yourself some conflict issues if you're just able to say yes about stuff that's not going to kill you, not going to break the bank, and it's not going to break your core values. 3 right there. All right. Speaking of number 3, the third thing you can do to resolve conflict and reduce conflict is practicing kindness. Okay? Now you can be the first person to bridge the gap. Kindness goes a long way. Okay? Ask me how I know. Okay? Like, there have been times where we're arguing or fighting and I'll bring my wife something. Bring her a little something to eat, bring her a cup of tea or something. She'll be like, why are you doing this? I'm still mad at you. I'm like, yeah, I'm still mad at you too, but I still love you. Okay? And that's the key to remember. You still love your spouse. You still love them. You still love him. Okay? You love that person. So even though you're angry at them, even though you're upset with them, bridge the gap. Get in there and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to be nice to you even though we're still arguing, even though we disagree. Okay? Because disagreements are disagreements. Okay? It's all actually really conceptual. Yes, it can have really big impact in the real world out there. Okay? But going forward and being the one to bridge the gap, saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to be the one to bridge the gap. I'm going to be the one that goes in there and says, hey, I'm going to make the change. Okay? And if you can do that, if you can go and be that person that impacts change, that especially you men, if you're going to go out there and be the leader, all right, in your marriage, and you could say, you know what? I know that we're both upset and mad at each other. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go out there and I'm going to practice kindness. I'm going to take some deep breaths like we talked about yesterday. manage your anger appropriately, take some deep breaths, calm down, and then come to the relationship and be like, hey, I still love you. I want to be kind to you. I'm not looking to get anything from you. I'm not even looking for you to agree with me. I'm just going to be kind to you because you know what? I love you, and that's what I need. That's what I need to do for you. Okay? Think about it. Think about these ideas. So again, to review. 1, agree to disagree. It's okay. All right? And if you really can't agree on a situation, talk about how you can agree on disagreeing. What is the process by which the two of you can disagree? All right. So that's 1. 2, say yes. If it's not going to kill you, say yes. All right. Hey, you know what? I don't feel like making dinner today. Can we grab something? Sure. Cool. It's not going to break my bank. Fantastic. Let's go do it. All right. And then number 3, practice kindness. Be the person that bridges the gap and says, you know what? It's not worth it for me for us to be arguing over and over and over again. It's not worth it. I don't want to do it. So you know what? I'm going to practice kindness. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to calm down. I'm going to get my own emotions in check. And then I'm going to go and be kind. All right? I'm going to try and change my tone. All right? Sometimes you have to soften your tone when you come back from these things, because if you're yelling or you're angry or whatever, people read that. All right? So I hope you've enjoyed this video. All right? I hope you've really, really, really gotten some stuff out of this whole series this week, because in all seriousness, I could probably just do a course just on these 4 alone and and put it out there and sell it. But I decided to put it out there for free for you guys who are watching, and I hope you've really valued what I've put out here. If you do value what I put out here, again, do all the internet stuff, like, subscribe, follow, whatever, shoot me a comment in the comment section, blah blah blah, all that good jazz that I love. Okay. And tomorrow I'll be doing a book review and a game review. I'm probably going to put up a poll. I'm divided. I'm not sure if I should do the Terminal List. I decided if I'm going to review the Jack Carr books, I'm going to do the Terminal List first. Or if I should do The Reckoning by John Grisham, which is a book that didn't make me feel very good, but it doesn't make it a bad book. It just didn't make me feel very good. So I've been thinking about reviewing the book because I'm like, man, I didn't like that book, but it doesn't mean it's a bad book. It just, I don't know, it's different. It has a very good moral to the story, but it drags you through the pain and misery and suffering without actually having to go through it yourself. So maybe it's a good book. I don't know. Anyways, thanks so much for spending a little time with me this morning. I hope you're enjoying your coffee. I hope you're having a great day. I'm Jim Valeri. Have a fantastic day.